If you thought your school uniform was strict, wait till you hear what kids had to wear in 1965. Discipline was harsh and you'd get a smack if you misbehaved. And, class, you couldn't hang out on the street corners like today. No, sir. You had to be home before tea time. This was life as a teenager in Swinging Sixties Britain. Saturday morning started early. The first thing Susan did after waking up was pour a bowl of corn flakes. She helped Mum set the table for breakfast, then poured Dad a cup of tea. Before sitting down to watch the weekend edition of Blue Peter, a variety show aimed at kids, she knew every word of every song. It was a big part of growing up in the 60s. Did you know that the very first episode of Blue Peter first aired on the 25th of October 1958? It's still going today. After breakfast, it was time to start the chores. Susan put on some records, turned up the volume, and set about cleaning the house. The Beatles were on the wireless, belting out "I Want to Hold Your Hand." She practiced her dance moves as she dusted, imagining she was on the TV show Ready, Steady, Go. Then she set about washing the family's one shirt, a pile of tea towels, and a few bits and pieces. Washing machines were just starting to appear in British homes, but most families still did their washing by hand. On a good day, they might have a machine like this one in the corner. But most of the time it was a hand-operated wringer washer. It took hours to wash, dry, and iron everything, so it had to start early. If they were lucky, Susan and her brother Michael shared a room. Their dad had served in the Navy, so maps and pictures of faraway lands covered the walls. His uniform was framed and hung proudly on the door. The only privacy they had was when they put up their "Beware of the Dog" sign outside the toilet. By lunchtime, the chores were done, and Susan hurried out to meet her friends. They walked along the high street to the local café, a place that looked like this. There were no big chains back then, only small, independent cafes owned by local families. They sat down for a snack of sandwiches and sweets. In the corner, a jukebox played the latest hits by the Dave Clark Five. Every Saturday, the girls brought their transistor radios with them. They would tune into Top Gear and listen to the latest chart. It was the only way they could hear new music before it arrived in their small town. It was time to go home, change, and meet the boys. Susan put on her best dress, the one with the Peter Pan collar, and a pair of black Mary Janes. She put on some mascara and lip balm, and headed out the door. Mods and rockers were all the rage in the 60s. The two rival gangs spent their weekends fighting and trying to outdo each other with their clothes and hairstyles. Mods favored slim-cut suits and Chelsea boots, while rockers went for leather jackets and motorbike boots. The violence got so bad that newspapers called it Battle of the Mods and Rockers. Even though it was mostly young people fighting, the police never got involved. They blamed it all on a youth bulge, an increase in teenage population that had been born during the post-war baby boom. After hanging around in town, it was home for tea. When Susan was little, her mum used to make her and her brother watch the Magic Roundabout on the tiny black and white telly. Now she snuck downstairs to watch Ready, Steady, Go while tucking into some beans on toast. After that, it was time for bed. At 10 o'clock, the whole family huddled together on the settee watching the nightly news. The BBC had a strict policy of signing off at midnight, so there was no sneaking downstairs for Doctor Who without the family waking up. Weekends meant the local dance hall. The lights were dim, the floor polished, and the band played live covers of the Animals, the Hollies, or even a cheeky Elvis number. Boys stood awkwardly on one side, girls on the other, until someone finally had the courage to cross the floor. Sometimes it ended with a slow dance, other times, just a smile and a promise to meet again next Saturday. Life wasn't all glamour. Britain in 1965 still carried traces of the post-war years. Streets were quieter, money was tighter, and not every home had a telephone or television. But there was a sense of community that teens today rarely see. Neighbors knew each other, doors were left unlocked, and summer evenings meant sitting outside chatting until the street lamps flickered on. As the day winds down, Susan walks home with her friends, the sound of scooters revving in the distance and the smell of fish and chips drifting from the corner shop. She writes in her diary about the day, who she saw, what she wore, and the songs she loved. She doesn't know it yet, but decades later, these simple moments will be the memories she treasures most. In the heart of England, a young girl called Susan skips along the pavement, her laughter echoing through the quiet suburban street. It's the 1960s and Britain is in the midst of a cultural revolution. The country is swinging, dancing to the beat of a new generation. For Susan and her friends, life is all about the latest fashions, the hottest music, and hanging out with friends. The weekends are for dancing. At the local parlor, Susan twirls around the dance floor with her best friend, Paul. The DJ plays the latest hits by the Rolling Stones, and they can't help but sing along. The week after, they're at the Starlight Ballroom, slow dancing to a dreamy tune by the Zombies. It is just a few minutes into the song when Paul suddenly puts his arm around Susan's waist and pulls her close. Startled, Susan looks up at him and blushes. She's known Paul since school, but this is the first time he's ever touched her. As the song ends, they break apart, both embarrassed and excited. Neither has ever had a boyfriend before. On their way home, they stop for fish and chips, their hands brushing as they reach for the same vinegar bottle. They walk separately to Susan's house, their steps slower now, their eyes locked on the pavement ahead. No one speaks, but it's clear they both feel a connection that goes beyond friendship. When they finally say goodbye, it's with a promise to meet again next weekend. It's not all just about romance and music. There's a real sense of community in Susan's neighborhood. The streets are clean and tidy, the front gardens well kept. The neighbors chat over garden walls, and the children play safely in the streets. Everyone knows everyone else's business, and there's a strong network of support. Mrs. Higgins, who lives across the street, has a sick husband and often struggles to carry her groceries upstairs, so the children in the neighborhood take turns helping her out. Mr. Williams, the butcher, knows exactly how many sausages and rashers of bacon Mrs. Higgins needs each week, and he always delivers them to her door free of charge. The local corner shop is run by a friendly couple called Mr. and Mrs. Patel, who are always willing to give the children sweets if they've been good. As the years go by, Susan grows up in this idyllic neighborhood, going on to meet many of her closest friends at the local parlor. But as the decade draws to a close, things begin to change. The music changes, the Carpenters and the Bee Gees take over the airwaves. And while Susan likes the new sounds, she also feels a part of her youth slipping away. But that's not to say she's unhappy. In fact, she's just had her first child, a baby boy she's named Michael. As she cradles him in her arms, she knows that she never forget the carefree days of her youth. She also knows that her son will grow up in a very different world to the one she knew, but she hopes that no matter what, he'll always remember the importance of family, friends, and a good dance. If this brought back memories, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to our channel for more true stories of life in Britain's past. There's so much more to revisit, and we'd love to take you there.